Al, just real quick, it's Claudia. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. So we're going to mute everybody, and as we get started here today, welcome everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Humanizing Challenge to get us started with our fall 2020 instruction. We're so grateful that you are finding time in your practice, making time in your practice, your teaching practice to be with us today. Today's session, Practicing Radical Love, Breaking Down Instructor-Student Hierarchies, is going to be led by Fabiola Torres, who will be on your screen in just a moment. Fabiola teaches ethnic studies at Glendale College, which is a college in Glendale, California, part of the California Community College system. And I just want to acknowledge that Fabiola is someone who I lean on regularly for expertise. I learned so much from Fabiola by watching her videos, seeing how she positions herself. And I mentioned, you know, I put color on today because she's always so full of beautiful color, and I always tend to wear blacks and grays. And not only that, but Fabiola is just an incredibly smart and talented human who brings so much joy and wisdom into my teaching practice and my time on this planet. So I just want to acknowledge that and say, Fabiola, you are one of my favorite academic cholas. So with that said, oh, and I wore my hoops for you today too. I'm going to pass it over to Fabiola.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation, but I'll make sure to keep it in a slow pace. The access to these slides are available for you. I made a tiny URL, simple to remember, Humanizing Love. So it's tinyurl.com/humanizing love. So I want to thank I want to thank Michelle. I want to thank the people who are in this Zoom for being here and, you know, really loving what we do. You know, when we started teaching, remember that interview that we had with the chair or in front of a committee? I can guarantee you that I would say possibly 90, if not 95% of us said we love to teach. So let's remember that emotion that we had when we first started teaching. So beyond all the bells and whistles that we're going to learn today, it's about us loving what we do. So I want to begin by giving some love to Michelle Pacansky-Brock. I started the hashtag I'm down with MPB. As a social scientist, as a professor of ethnic studies, it is very important for us to frame our arguments around the theorists that feed our practice. And ethnic studies is a discipline anchored in social justice. So this is why I want to frame my position. And one of my theorists or pedagogical experts is Michelle Pacansky-Brock. And you know, she's explained to us yesterday what humanizing online education is. And if you missed it, make sure you go back to the archive and check it out. But in humanized courses, faculty intentionally cultivate an inclusive learning environment that fosters psychological safety and trust, informs connections that grow into relationships and a community. With an emphasis on presence, empathy, and awareness, faculty become warm demanders, and students apply themselves at a higher level to not let down their learning partner. So we are becoming these intentional teachers that we don't want to let down our students. It's just that simple.
Bobby, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We're getting comments in the chat that people can't see your beautiful face all the way. Your camera appears to be cutting you off a little bit.
It does. Well,
we can only see up to your eyes.
Oh yes, I know. That's on purpose.
Oh, okay. And you have not shared your screen. Okay, because now I get what you're doing. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Now I've lost my, oh, here it is. Okay, so now can you see my screen? Michelle?
Not yet, no. I still see you.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, there we go.
See, I'm nervous, everyone.
So I see exit full screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now I see. Yeah.
So now we see I'm down with MPB. Right?
We are with you.
Yay.
Thank you, Fabi.
And by the way, the frame, it's on purpose. Okay. I want to let you know that framing is everything. So let's look at this frame. This is Michelle and I. Michelle was working on humanizing and I was working on an equity table. This was back at OTC. Remember when we used to come together? And this photo was taken by Dayamudra, who was featured yesterday as one of our humanizing guides. So I look at this frame and I'm like, wow, so much is captured in this frame. So to move on in relation to humanizing online education. So humanizing online learning. Instructor-student relationships lie at the heart of humanizing online courses, serving as the connective tissue between students, engagement, and rigor. And this is an argument that Michelle was presenting yesterday in relation to the power of humanizing online education, is that it does create this avenue where we create trust and safety. And then you build relationships. And then you enable an environment where rigor is, of course, then leveraged. And so I've come up with the argument that humanizing online education becomes a practice of radical love. Now, another theorist that I'm going to frame this presentation on is someone who is very close to my heart, and I think a lot of us in this Zoom will actually go, I remember her. And this is a theorist that has been talking about pedagogy and radical love for many years. And that, of course, is Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks has a very famous quote that says, but love is really more of an interactive process. It's about what we do, not just what we feel. It's a verb, not a noun. And she has an amazing book called Teaching to Transgress, Education as a Practice of Freedom. And this quote is what inspired me to choose the profession of education. As a classroom community, our capacity to generate excitement is deeply affected by our interests in one another, in hearing one another's voices, in recognizing one another's presence. And we recognize each other's presence. We recognize the students' presence, and we enable ourselves to have students recognize our presence. This is why frame is important. What we frame our camera. When we do Zoom, this is our classroom. This becomes our classroom. Now, I do want to say my wall is black. I'll be painting this soon because I've taken over my partner's studio and this is why it's black. But I intentionally put like a, I put a frame over here and I put another picture here. I lit up some light, and this is just because why I want to be intentional with my presence that I'm offering to you. But let's continue talking about Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks argues that social justice is radical love, that there can be no love without justice. So in a sense, practicing radical love is an act of social justice. Radical love is a concrete practice. Radical love is as love does. Radical love is an act of will, both an intention and an action. Radical love is an ethic. Radical love is a way we choose to act. So again, it's about loving what we do. And what's important here is that it's a practice. It's something that we got to get good at and comfortable with. So Bell Hooks also wrote another book called All About Love. Now this book provides you such vast ways of looking at love. Love as an act, and of course, love as a practice, and love as a relationship. On a side note, this book helped me love my partner. So just want to, and I don't know if Juana Mora from Rio Hondo is in this Zoom session, but she introduced me to this book. So if she's in this call, gracias, mujer. Thank you. Bell Hooks calls upon the practice of radical love. Awakening to this kind of love can only happen as we let go of our obsession with power and domination. And I have here academic culture. And I think this taps into that emotional armor that Michelle spoke about yesterday, and Gayatri and Dayamudra also presented this journey that they took to break down that emotional armor in this academic culture. You know, we want to be perfect. We want to look professional, or we don't want to be seen. Love as a guiding ethic makes possible the transformation we seek. Love is what motivates us to call for racial and gender justice. It's what drives our demands for inclusion, equity, accessibility, and opportunity. This is important in the practice that we do. You know, we have these concepts and ideas about equity, but how do we practice that? How do we practice it in our hearts, in our classroom, and in the institution? How do we do that? And that's a journey all of us need to take. So why today? We are currently in two pandemics. We are in a racial pandemic, and we are in COVID. And our students are in the midst of this. And so how do our learning environments become a safe haven from all of that? And so Bell Hooks says one of the most profound statements, and this was back in 2000. But I want to read this to you, and then I want us to think about what she says. As a nation, we need to gather our collective courage and face that our society's lovelessness is a wound. As we allow ourselves to acknowledge the pain of this wound when it penetrates our flesh, and we feel in the depths of our soul a profound anguish of spirit, we come face to face with the possibility of conversion, of having a change of heart. In this way, recognition of the wound is a blessing because we are able to tend to it, to care for the soul in ways that make us ready to receive the love that is promised. So we have that wound. We are living in the middle of this global pandemic and racial unrest. That is a wound. And how do we tend to it? And we can do that in the classroom. So actions of love. Bell Hooks clearly states these actions are care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, trust. Is someone coming in? Oh, okay. So we have these 6 definitions of care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, trust. And this slide, what I did is I hyperlinked all theorists, pedagogical theorists that actually associate with these actions of love, from Geneva Gay to Bell Hooks to Louis Rodriguez to Laura Rendon, which was mentioned at the last session that Michelle presented. And of course, Michelle Pacansky-Brock, and of course, Zaretta Hammond. These are all theorists that actually believe in the power of these actions of love. So we put them all together, and what do we get? We get radical love. So now we have these two liberatory practices. We have humanized online education, and we have radical love. And these two can break down the social hierarchies between student and instructor relationships. I have here two quotes. When students enter a class, online or not, and are greeted by supportive, friendly, human, they feel more safe and begin to lean in. And this is mentioned is quoted from an amazing article written by Michelle Pacansky-Brock, and the hyperlink is there available for you. And of course, Bell Hooks, a culture of domination is anti-love. It requires violence to sustain itself. To choose love is to go against the prevailing values of the culture. So it's radical. And so humanized online education plus radical love equals breaking down instructor-student hierarchies. And that's actually a culturally responsive teaching and learning principle. And Michelle mentioned this yesterday as well. We must start with trust and safety in order to build relationships and leverage rigor. Then we can enable students to lean in. And so I always make dream billboards, and this would be one of them, and we could have billboards on our campuses. Love what you do, personify that love, leverage students up to the level of your passion. So when we talk about leaning in, you have to see it like this image, you know, we shake someone's hand and we have them lean in. We have a passion with what we do. After all, we got hired to teach the discipline that we teach. Somewhere in our journey, we fell in love with what we do. So if we love what we do, how do we show that to our students? How do we bring them up to the level of our passion and help them lean in? How do we do that? And of course, one of my favorite theorists is Mr. Miyagi. He's a pop cultural reference that maybe, you know, some of us remember the film Karate Kid. Remember when Daniel-san gets beat up by the Cobra Kai guys, and then Mr. Miyagi jumps in and like, you know, beats them and scares them off, and then saves Daniel-san from getting more injury. And so what happens there is that Daniel-san saw a level of expertise, and he saw that Mr. Miyagi can teach him karate. Of course, we remember in the film where he says, okay, I'll teach you karate, but you have to trust me. And so Daniel-san says, okay, I trust you. Okay, go sand the floor, go wax the car, go paint the fence. And of course, Daniel-san gets, you know, he gets frustrated, but he eventually does it, right? And then at the point of the film when he's like, you know, can't handle it because he's not learning karate, Mr. Miyagi goes, okay, show me wax on, wax off. Sand the floor, paint the fence. And remember that moment? Daniel-san, guess what? Did karate. And so he trusted Mr. Miyagi. He went through the process, and at the end, he succeeded. And of course, we can't forget that last scene. So what's the process that we have to go through? Step 1, we have to embrace the first pancake. What? First pancake? So when we embrace the first pancake, we move through imperfections because good stuff is coming. You're the expert of your discipline. So we know how to deliver the content, but how do we deliver it in this new online environment? Well, allow your knowledge of your content to lead. It's like, we know this is why we got hired. We're experts in our content, but then most of us aren't experts in delivering it in an online environment. We didn't sign up for this. So if we take a step back, and again, that emotional armor, that academic armor, that first pancake, it's not perfect. You know, those of us who cook, you pour the batter, and that first pancake usually gets burnt, and you let it go. You know, you throw it away or give it to the dog. Then you get the second pancake, and you keep going, and then finally you figured out how much water, how much batter, how much time. All that is very important. But that first pancake, guess what? It's part of our process. It's part of our process, because in the end, we're going to make good stuff. We're going to make good pancakes. So spring 2020 was our first pancake. And guess what? Fall 2020 is going to be a better pancake. And it's going to get better and better and better. So when something goes wrong, say to yourself, it's my first pancake. Now, one of the things that we say when we start to do humanizing online education is we hate the sound of our voice. So let's start with our voice. Okay, and it is part of the first pancake. So my friend Nina Lares is a singer. You know, I used to be a club girl back in the day, and Nina was in my community. And I asked her, did you like the sound of your voice? And so this is what she said. It was a little hard to hear my voice at first, but honestly, you just get used to it. It's just unfamiliar at first, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. You value the moments when you uplift the people in the dance floor. So that's really what it comes down to. We value that we can uplift a student. So it's not about the sound of our voice. It really is about uplifting our students. But we do get used to it, okay? You will get used to it. Next, impression management. We are in control of our frame. We are in, sorry. You know, I like to change up my glasses to look different because I am self-conscious of the bags under my eye. Of course, I have a lot of light right now, so it's what I do to control my frame. What's behind me? Do I want to add color to my frame so that I look bright? Do I want to put a hat on? My point is that we are in control of our frame. If we don't want to be in the frame, we don't have to be in the frame. It's our impression management. Impression management. Control your frame and your content. Allow your passion to project through the frame and medium. Yet define your public and LMS identity. If I don't want images of my children behind me, then take it out. If you don't even want people to know you have children, then ensure that what's in your frame does not reveal your children. I live in a very significant part of Los Angeles, and when I do outside shots, I cannot show the hill behind me because then people will know where I live. So control your frame. One of my favorite quotes, that Guy Kawasaki, and by the way, I put the podcast there so you can see it. Define yourself because someone else will. And you know what's defining us? Rate my professor. So how do we define ourselves? And then permission to take off our mask and be vulnerable. Yesterday, Michelle talked about the power of being vulnerable, you know, breaking down that emotional academic armor and gather a collective courage during this global pandemic. So I just wanted to, I'll show you a little piece of video of just me. You know, you'll see all my other videos and I have like the makeup, the light, the color, but this one I'm bare. And there's a reason why.
I need to like put a pause on this class. I'm going to extend the deadline for the research project through Tuesday. I've unpublished Unit 4 because I want to start over. I can't end this class without dealing with what is going on today. I just can't. Okay? So let's take an extra day. If you've submitted, then enjoy the time off. If you're, on track and you want to submit, go for it. But for tomorrow, I'm going to ask us to just take a day off of just reflection and be with your family. Catch up on other classes, and I'll open the class up on Wednesday with new content. I just wasn't comfortable where I was going with Unit 4. I need to stay, as someone put it in one of the messages, stay radical. So I'm gonna get radical.
So I have here, of course, a description of when I sent this. I had a lot of students just talk about how they were feeling during the social unrests. And in the middle of all this, not only were we in the middle of a pandemic, we had curfew in Los Angeles, and we were watching people get, tear gassed. And so, I have here a message from Pronto. We use Pronto at Glendale. And this message really got me, where it says, everything feels heavy in the air, and thank you for being the only professor I've taken this semester to acknowledge that. We love you. And there was a great relationship between students and me. They were checking in on me. And I think because my face showed, I had been crying, I was upset, and I could have put an emoji in front of me, but I really wanted to connect with them. And so I shared this vulnerable video. So when we look at what we love to do and making that decision to practice radical love and wanting to try this humanizing online education, we could start from the very beginning. And so here are some welcome video prompts which will help you transition to the next activities that we're going to do. I've selected 4. What's your teaching style? How would you describe your online course design? What makes your discipline special? And who are you outside of the classroom? So I'll play little snippets because I do want to make sure we have time for questions and answers and a dialogue. So here's an example of a public, okay, this is a public message. So again, what's in my frame? How much am I willing to disclose? How do I want to look? So I don't have to deal with what makes me uncomfortable about myself.
I design my online courses to ensure the best possible outcome for my students. I provide a nurturing environment that promotes excellence. So I'm constantly reminding students when tasks need to be completed. I'm also obsessed with giving students a lot of feedback so they know how to improve in the next assessment. Online environments can be very challenging because we're not physically in the classroom. So there's a lot of distractions. So being able to navigate through life and online courses will be the ultimate key to success.
It was short. A great strategy is I had my partner interview me, so it wasn't scripted. I used my iPhone and iMovie. It's an iOS app, but this is what I used. Now here is one that is using Adobe Spark. And this is, this is a Adobe Spark video that I would send to students prior to the semester. Oops.
I am Professor Fabiola Torres. I believe teaching is an act of love. I practice radical love. Radical love lies at the heart of my online course design. I welcome all learners and provide strategies to level up performance. My role is to enable all my students improve their learning and increase their cognitive stamina. I really love to nurture student success. I'm ready to meet you.
So this is a simple public message that I did in Adobe Spark, sentence by sentence. That's it. Now, how is the online course designed? Here is an example again of a public message. And again, since I'm self-conscious of the bags under my eyes, I use a lot of lights. I'll show just a little bit. I won't show the, keep pressing. Okay, here we go.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our 8-week online ethnic studies course. Now, let me explain the format to the class. This course takes 16 weeks and compresses it into 8 weeks. That means 1 week of our class is equal to 2 weeks of a regularly scheduled class. It moves very fast, and some of us might even feel overwhelmed. However, it's my job to help you navigate through each week.
Okay, so that's an example of just a simple video message. You can tell I do a lot of, that's who I am. Here is a pre-semester message, and this is within the learning management system. So it's a little bit more privacy. And so this is something that I like to include along with my welcome letter. A lot of our campuses have a lot of punitive requirements. When you take an online class, you gotta sign in at this day or else you're gonna be dropped. And so I wanted to add a layer of, okay, I got you. So I did something silly.
Hello everyone. Yes, I know, I'm an emoji, but you're gonna see a lot of me during the 8-week session. And well, I thought I'd change it up. So this is our pre-8-week class session. Class does not begin until next week, but I have opened it up so that we get a better chance of kind of going through the course and seeing whether or not this is going to be for us. This is a very unique time, and you have the right to decide if this class will fit into your life. So one thing you'll discover is I am not a robot. So I am going to be very present in this class. You're going to get a lot of emails,
And so I'm making it clear that I'm going to be very present in the class. So I'm setting myself up to a level of expectations for our students to know that I'm going to be there for them in this very scary time where a lot of students did not choose to take online classes. Okay, so next. Here is an intro video that I decided to do where I'm not in the image. And so what I decided to do is do a video on why ethnic studies. And I'm not even, my image isn't even there.
Did you know ethnic studies can prepare you for the 21st century job market? A job is empathy. Is an interpersonal and cognitive skill that acknowledges diversity, embraces inclusivity, and promotes partnerships. According to Eric Huberman, the CEO of Hawk Media, letting ego control your decisions leads to poor decision-making in business. Companies like Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and Netflix signal that empathetic individuals not only are more successful, but empathetic teams as a whole are too. Yet, before we can effectively practice empathy, we must learn about our country's historical resistance to diversity and inclusivity while featuring resilient community partnerships. Ethnic Studies at GCC presents powerful courses focusing on oppression, resistance, and resilience in the U.S. while nurturing students in developing empathy, a core competency skill desired in the 21st century job market. Become a better you with Ethnic Studies at Glendale Community College.
So this is Adobe Spark, and it's again sentence by sentence. So if you write a script, you can decide what to say frame by frame. Here is another video with limited video, and of course awesome distractions, which are my dogs.
Hello everyone, I am your instructor, Fabiola Torres. I'm gonna be stuck at home with these guys all semester long, but I'd like to introduce myself to you. So here's some information about me. When I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But then I took an ethnic studies class and I learned about my culture, social justice, and how to challenge oppression. I found my voice. Now I teach ethnic studies. And I'm excited to teach this class online. I have taught online education for many years, and I designed my courses to ensure a successful outcome. Learn more about me at glendale.edu.
So again, this is very limited video. It's what I was comfortable with. And again, I used Adobe Spark. Now this next video is super short, and there's a hyperlink that says how to use clips. If you have an iOS device, meaning an iPhone or an iPad, and you're interested in this, in the self-paced modules, there is one on clips. And if you go through the tutorial, you can produce a video like this. 20 seconds.
Hello, my name is Fabiola Torres. I am your professor of ethnic studies. When I'm not teaching, I'm playing with my doggy Wookie. I can't wait to meet every single one of you. I hope we have a great semester together.
That was it. If you want to do a 20-second video, I know the challenge is 2 to 3 minutes, but let's go with our comfort level. And if you have an iOS device, sorry, Android users. And this was featured yesterday. This is Adobe Spark. This is a great icebreaker that you can do just to invite students to share what they still love to do. And it could be in any way. It can be written, it could be a picture, whatever you want to decide, but open up those, open up those curtains to let them see a little bit of you.
Back in 1990, when I was in high school, I loved to dance. Today, I still dance by myself in my house.
So this is just for your own. I have 2 video tips that are included in the slides about how to make sure your camera's at eye level and of course light. But again, ultimately, it's not about how we look. It's not about how we look or, how much light we have or what outfit we wear. It ultimately is about how we project that love of our discipline, of our practice, and for social justice. So with that, I want to say thank you. And, let's work on our pace. Let's work on what makes us comfortable. Don't overdo it, and reach out to your colleagues if you need any help. Thank you.
That was so beautiful. I have goosebumps. I cried. How many Zoom sessions do we get to go to, or I should say webinars do we get to go to where we feel so fulfilled? So thank you for your generosity and for sharing so much of you as a human in your teaching and sharing your teaching practices with us. That was a practice of radical love. That was
Thank you.
Amazing. What an ending. Wow. Yeah. So I'm trying to I was so sucked into what you were asking about. We had some questions about Animoji. So I did want to follow up just because of my lack of use of Animoji. You made your Animojis on your iPhone, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
So I don't have an Android, and I don't know if there's something that is equivalent on Android, but just wanted to reiterate that is an iPhone specific thing, I think.
It is an iPhone specific, and because I have inside information, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but Clips has discovered its value recently, and so it will be getting better and better and better. So,
and hopefully that doesn't mean they're going to start charging for it.
Right. No, it is an iOS. It's just like, no, it won't.
Okay. Good.
But I don't know any Android equivalent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we should invite folks to use the raise hand feature. And let me explain how to get to this. If you have a question for Bobby, in the bottom of your Zoom window, click on Participants and then select Raise Hand if you have a question that you'd like to ask Fabi. And Laverne, hold on, I have to give you the ability to unmute yourself. Okay, Laverne, you can unmute unmute yourself now. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to know, I realize that a lot of us don't have iPhones, but for those of us who do, can you walk us through how to do Clips? I hear the words, but I don't know what that means.
Okay, so Clips is an iOS app. You actually have it on your phone. A lot of us discover it. Like, what? It's on our phone? In the next session? Okay, I understand. In the next session, in the web page, we have the challenges that we're asking you to do. One of them is Clips. There we go. Thank you, Michelle. Let
me show them where to click. So folks, this is the website for today, the August 12th. Remember how I showed you how to get to this, right? I'm going to put the link for this webpage in here again. So Fabi's I'm showing, but Fabi's going to explain. So you go to that website for August 12th, which is today. Just below the heading Self-Guided Activities, it says record, host, and caption your 2 to 3 minute imperfect welcome video. If you click on this yellow link here, it's going to open this. And this is a self-paced resource that we have for you. Watch this video, click start here. It's going to take you out to our modules. You're going to start here and use the next button at the bottom after you've read and viewed the videos to go to the next page. Okay. I'm going to go back into that modules view though and show you when you get to this page, record options, you'll see that there are many options. Option 1 is to record with your smartphone using your camera, and this kind of walks you through that step. Option 2 is to record with Clips, and Fabi is right here in this course to show you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Exactly.
Thank
Exactly. And if you go through those steps, you'll just make a very basic video and then just play with it. You'll discover little things that, oh, I can do that. I can do that. And again, it's just work on your own pace. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube how to use Clips, and it will also give you more steps as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, so this site, again, I want to be sure everybody knows how to get there.
Yeah.
So from the website for today, again, I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I recommend that you click on the link when I put it in chat. So you will have the same page open that I'm sharing with you, okay? Looks like this. It's the August 12th page. okay? And then you go down to the learn how to create your video step. That's going to take you out to, this is it's created with Canvas. It's a course that we've only put content pages in, so you're not enrolled in the course. It's basically like web pages.
Mm-hmm.
And view this welcome video from me. When you get started, it will prompt you to click start here. And then after start here, you're going to just select where the finger is pointing you to go, getting started, and you'll be on the first page. Don't jump ahead to that options page. Start here, because there's a lot of really helpful information, more examples. This is an example of using Adobe Spark to introduce a sticky concept. So like a micro lecture, which is an excellent instructional strategy. In general, we need to get away from using long videos and use shorter videos and design them into the course where it makes sense. So they're really scaffolding a student's learning through the process. So we've got lots of good stuff in here, an infographic with some more tips, but just go through the course. It's self-paced. You'll be guiding yourself through it. Know that there are more help resources online that you can lean on. And this is a process that everyone's going to have different experiences, because we have different skill sets that we're coming in with, but we also have different devices. We're using different browsers. And so if you know someone, particularly if you're a person who may have teenagers or live near teenage, in your close, like quarantined environment, ask them for some help. I bet they'll be able to help you with it if you get stuck at all.
I see a lot of comments on about is it available in Canvas? Is it available in Canvas? So a lot of these creative projects are outside of Canvas. Consider them like your little creative, notebook where you get creative. We can be creative outside of Canvas, and we bring in the product into the class. So I just want to make sure that Clips is not it's not an LTI, it's not part of Canvas. iMovie is not part of Canvas. There are tools now with Canvas Studio, but these are outside sources for you to create that voice, to create that connection with your students.
And I would like to invite Daria to ask a question. Daria, would you like to unmute?
I'm unmuted, I think.
Yes,
Thank you so much. My question that I feel like's been the big challenge is how to ask students to meet you with their humanizing. So I'm having, especially in large classes, students that don't want to turn on their cameras during Zoom. I'm trying to create more assignments where I'm asking them to bring part of themselves instead of this robotic piece. So I'm just curious about some techniques and tools you're using to help them meet you with that humanizing.
Yes, so it's very important from the very beginning to set that culture of comfort with yourself. And also timing is everything, and doing the little opening up, and then deciding what value is opening up the curtain for the course content. For example, I teach ethnic studies, and one of the first examples that one of the first activities is what is culture. And so we look at all the segments of culture, and food is one of them, even medical, aids, and you have all these segments, and so they're supposed to take a picture of something that represents their culture. Those of us who are Latinx, my picture is always Vaporu, Vicks Vapor Rub, because most Mexican households, we have a Vicks Vapor Rub. So I take a picture of it, and then people start taking pictures of something that represents their culture. Then the next step, you basically allow those curtains to be opened, but is the curtain ultimately the face, or is it maybe a painting they did? And that's vulnerable enough. So it's really about how much is their exposure part of the course content. And so even if it's I wear my red lipstick everywhere, and that's what exposes me, even if I do something like this where you don't see my face but just my lipstick, guess what? That's great. That's enough. I like using Padlet. I have chosen to buy the professional version. I spent the money, I'll use it in my taxes. And Padlet's a great place for them to put up video or images for any discussion that enables the students to open up a little bit more. So I hope that that helps, but it really starts with us. You know, by the end, they're all over the camera. But that's because I've allowed them to see me.
And one thing we didn't talk about, Fabi, that it's just coming to my mind before we wrap up is captions. You mentioned it on clips, right? Mm-hmm. So if we are creating videos for our whole course, they need to have closed captions. That is something that is required by accessibility law, and it's a good practice in general for anyone. The captions allow anyone access to the spoken track who may not be able to hear it for a variety of reasons. And that is embedded in what you're going to do today. That is embedded in the self-guided activity today. I also want to point something else out. As you go through the course, you're going to be introduced to different steps. Record, host, or publish, which means putting your video file on a hosting site, and then you caption, and then you share it, okay? Our last share step for this challenge is to put it in your liquid syllabus, which is part of tomorrow's self-guided activities. And you're going to be creating a liquid syllabus with Google Sites. Google Sites only takes videos that are hosted on YouTube. So today we're going to walk you through how to record, how to host or publish on YouTube, and then how to get the captions accurate on YouTube. And then tomorrow you're going to take that, if you're done by tomorrow, and if not, then it'll be another day for you. But you're going to take that link, that YouTube link to your video, and you're going to put it in your liquid syllabus. Okay? So I just want to point that out. But that hosting step, putting your video somewhere, because the videos they're big files. You don't want to put videos right in Canvas, because you're going to meet your storage max like instantly. And that's just not where you want your videos to be uploaded. Upload them somewhere else, and then you can put them in Canvas. And that step is also included here. So you will learn in the course how to embed videos in Canvas if that's something you're ready to learn now. If not, come back later. The course is not going to go away. It will always be there for you. And that hosting step, there are other options, and that will be included in the course too. So I just wanted to introduce that. I know many of you are totally at your cognitive load, and right now my lips are just moving and you're not really getting what I'm saying, and that's okay. But take some time to just push away from the computer screen now, reflect on Fabiola's amazing messages about practicing radical love. And when you're ready, come back and give it a try. Remember, you go to the August 12th page of our Humanizing Challenge website. I'll put that link one more time in the chat, and you click on the yellow button under self-guided activities. That'll take you to our Create Your Video course. Fabiola, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For touching all of us.
I do want to encourage any leadership on this call, any leadership, any DE coordinator, give faculty credit for doing their project. If they take a screenshot of their finished product and it's in the shared Padlet, give them credit. That means they've gone through a process and created something. So, you know, it's not an email or anything, but at least it's something to show that they've done it. So I just want to give credit to faculty who try.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I forgot to say the next self-guided activity is to share your video. So we have a Padlet just like yesterday. And by the way, I didn't even recognize the amazing reflections that were shared yesterday. I encourage you all to go back to the August 11th page and click on the yellow link at the bottom of that screen to read and reflect on your peers' reflections, and add one if you haven't had time to do that yet. But we have another Padlet today, and Fabi and I have each shared a video there to get it started. And it is our hope that we're going to see lots of videos on that page of all kinds of different people. So lean into that vulnerability, take off that emotional armor, remember everything that we've learned so far, and we will see you all again tomorrow, hopefully, for our next session at 11 o'clock when we'll get into a liquid syllabus.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.